Have you ever felt buyer's remorse? Because I know I sure have. Before you swipe that card or click buy it now, ask yourself, is this a wise purchase or just a worldly impulse? Because as followers of Jesus, we are called to be wise stewards of all that he gives us and not emotional spenders. Every single dollar that we spend is a reflection of what matters to our hearts. What do you treasure? What do I treasure? Looking at our bank statements and our credit card statements can tell us so much about what our hearts truly treasure. So today I'm going to walk you through 10 questions to ask yourself before you make that impulsive purchase. I hope these questions will help you spend wisely and intentionally while still honoring God with all that he has given you. I'm Sarah, I'm a certified financial educator, and I created this channel, It's All His, to help you manage God's money, God's way, for God's glory, because it all belongs to him. That sounds like something that would help you and encourage you and motivate you to be a wise steward. Please consider subscribing for new videos every week. Let's jump into the first question. Question 1, can I actually afford this? And when I say afford it, I don't just mean afford to make the payments on it. Can you afford to pay this item in full? For most of our purchases, this is a great gauge to know if this is a purchase that we should make. Now granted, there might be a few items like say your house that you can't just pay for in cash. I'm mostly in this video talking about the extras, the wants rather than the needs, but in general, and sometimes even with some bigger ticket things like, let's say, a car or even a vacation, just asking yourself, can I afford the payments, is not a wise way of making sure you can actually afford an item, because you don't want your whole life to just be wrapped up in constant payments forever and ever. Just because something can fit on your credit card or you can get approved for a loan does not mean it is a wise purchase for you to make. All right, question number 2, is this a need or is it a want? I'm sure you've heard this before. I've talked about it here on the channel before, but we really do need to be able to be honest with ourselves and say, do I truly need this item, or is this more in the want category? And yes, I realize that's not always black and white. There can be some gray area there. There is nothing wrong with buying things that you want. There just needs to be wisdom between knowing the difference between the needs and the wants. The needs have to come first and the wants have to come with wisdom. Question number 3 is this going to help me or hinder me when it comes to my financial goals? Hopefully you have some financial goals. Maybe these goals are paying off your debt, saving up an emergency fund, saving for your wedding or a car or a house, saving up for retirement. These are all wonderful financial goals. So ask yourself before you make that purchase, is this going to help me get closer to my financial goal of fill in the blank? Or is this just going to be a hindrance, a distraction? Sometimes just putting those goals back in front of mind is what's going to help it be easier for you to click away from that Amazon cart or close down that app and not make that impulsive purchase. Really being focused on those goals is an excellent way to keep yourself motivated, and having somebody for some accountability along the way makes it even easier. Now, if you're working on goals, you are absolutely still allowed to give yourself some of those wants. In fact, I encourage you to allow for a little bit of wiggle room with wants so that you're not feeling so deprived as you work towards those big picture goals, because some of them can take a good amount of time. But if you're always giving yourself the wants and you're noticing that it's hindering your progress, this is a great question to ask. Do I want to hit my goals, or do I really want that shirt, car, trip, whatever it might be? The next question that we need to ask ourselves is, am I being influenced? This is a good one, because we can be, adults who think, no, I'm not being influenced. I'm not being, swayed by peer pressure. I'm not a child. But the reality is, in the world we live in, there is so much influencing happening to us. The second we look at our phones, the second we're on Facebook or Instagram, there is always someone trying to influence us to buy something. And we often don't even realize it unless we're careful and step back and take a minute to think and ask ourselves this question before we make that purchase. Why are you buying that item for your kitchen? Is it because that really cute girl on the Instagram reel has it in her beautiful kitchen and you somehow deep down feel like if you have that item, your kitchen will be like hers, or your life will be like hers, or, these all sound like silly questions, but it's how marketing and advertising work. It's hitting us in our emotions and giving us this sense that we're missing something, and we can fill what we're missing with this item that they're trying to sell us. We're all constantly being influenced, and if we realize it and we ask ourselves first before we make that purchase, if that's the motivation, it can stop us in our tracks and save us a lot of money. A simple way to ask this is, do I really want this item, or is somebody trying to convince me that I want it? It's a great place to start. My next question for you is this an emotional purchase? Are you in that Amazon cart or online shopping because you're feeling overwhelmed, stressed, you had a hard day and you feel like you need a reward? Are you emotional, upset, sad, lonely, whatever it may be? Are you making this purchasing decision from any place of emotion rather than wisdom and logic and thinking about your goals and thinking about your budget. I actually made a whole video about emotional spending, and I will link a card to that up here if that might help you. If emotional spending is something that you struggle with, I hope that it will bless you. Truly, our emotions are horrible financial advisors, so don't let them rule your finances. Take some time, close your phone, walk away, pray, and seek the Lord's help if you think that you are tempted to spend for emotional reasons. Another wise question to ask yourself before making a purchase is, what is the cost per use for this item? Because a $100 item that you use 100 times makes way more financial sense than a $25 item that you barely ever use or sits in your closet and you never wear. Cost per use really can be a wise gauge, and some people don't like to spend as much upfront. But if you know it's going to get a lot of use, sometimes the cost per use for some really nice item can be pennies over time. Often the items that you are spending a little bit more on are going to be better quality and they're going to last longer, particularly if you take good care of them. I find cost per use to be something that I use a lot when I'm buying clothes. I don't want to have a lot of fast fashion and just buy all the trends. I would rather buy classic pieces that I can wear for a long period of time, even if they cost a little bit more. They're better quality. I take really good care of them. And I enjoy wearing them more. I don't get sick of them as much because they're just things that I know I'm gonna like for the long term rather than just the latest trend. But cost per use can come in handy for a lot of different things. So consider the cost per use when you're weighing out even just buying options. A lot of times we're tempted to just buy the cheapest thing because we want that thing quickly. It might even be smarter for you to save up and get the slightly nicer thing because you won't have to replace it as much. Considering cost per use just means you're gonna think a little bit beyond the actual price tag. And sometimes you might even realize you don't even need that item in the first place. The next question I want you to ask yourself before you make that purchase is this the best price available? Can I find a better deal on this item if I'm willing to do some research or wait for a sale? Maybe, depending on what we're talking about, you could even buy it used and save a ton of money that way. Sometimes being a good steward means you have to be a good researcher. So take your time because you're also not going to be rushing into that purchase. You might realize that you don't even need to make it and there's money that you've saved right there. And depending on what you're looking to buy, maybe even just see if you could borrow it to save even more money. Something like a power tool or something that you need around the house, you might not even need to own your own version of that. You might be able to get one from a friend or a neighbor. This next question is one that I have to ask myself all the time, particularly when I am buying clothes, and that is, do I own something similar? I'm wearing this white t-shirt today. This is from Loft, and I think I have at least 3 white t-shirts in my closet right now. I definitely struggle with this one. As a neutral Nancy, I'm always gonna have some gray and some white and some black, and oftentimes I'll buy something and think, I already kind of have one that's basically the same thing. Slight variations on the style on a different shirt can make us think, oh, I need that one to go with these pants or to go with that outfit, and that can be a bit of a trap, particularly if you're being influenced by fashion bloggers or social media in that way. Do you really need that item? Do you already have something similar or something that could work in its place? This is a really good question. Like I said, I need to ask myself this a lot. That one's a bit convicting. A lot of times contentment means just being happy with what you already have. And this is one that challenges me all the time. The next question you want to ask yourself is, do I need this right now? Urgency is a huge part of marketing and trying to sell us stuff. Particularly when there's a big sale, we feel like we have to get this item now. If you've lived for any length of time though, you've probably come to realize what I've come to realize, and that's there's always a big sale. Occasionally there might be an even bigger sale, and if you really want an item and you're doing that research and you're delaying that gratification and planning, you'll know when that really big sale is coming, and that's when you should make your purchase. But for the most part, if they're advertising the Memorial Day sale or the 4th of July sale, there's gonna be another one coming here in just a few short weeks. Retailers, they are constantly looking for an excuse to give us a sale, even though that's probably just their regular price and the real retail price isn't the actual price. We all know how that works. Don't let that urgency or that influencer tell you, oh, these things are on sale. This weekend sale is happening now. There's always a weekend sale. You're going to be able to find it on sale again. Don't let that be the reason why you make a purchase that isn't a wise purchase for you. Just because it's on sale doesn't mean it's a need. Doesn't mean it's a necessary purchase. If you woke up this morning not even thinking that you would need that item, but now you feel like you have to buy it because someone told you it was on sale, that's a really good sign that you do not need to buy that item right now. And I'm speaking to myself too, trust me. And this next question is one that really comes in handy. Think about how much money you make per hour and ask yourself, how many hours of work would I have to put in to buy that item? It is amazing how quickly that can put just into relief exactly how important that item is to you. It's a wonderful way to gauge those needs versus those wants and the value that you're getting for your time and your dollar. God has entrusted us with resources to spend wisely for His glory, not frivolously, not emotionally. When we just pause and ask ourselves the right questions before we click buy, we make better financial decisions long term, and we're more faithful stewards of all that God has blessed us with. If you'd like to talk more about managing money to the glory of God, click over into this playlist and I will see you over there. Thanks for watching.